The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
Welcome to the Village of Wappinger Falls second monthly meeting of the Mayor and the Board of Trustees for Wednesday, January 26th, 2022. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for attending. Just a reminder, the St. Patty's Day Parade is March 5th. It's a Saturday, 2022. The Emerald Ball is coming back. That dinner will be February 12th at the Elks Club in Poughkeepsie. If you want some information, there's a poster on the other side of the wall here for that. Right now they have about 120 tickets sold. Tickets are $50 a piece. And I think they have enough room for another 40 to 50 tickets. So, with that said, I will move on.
I have an announcement.
Yes.
All right. As the chief election officer for the village, and with the election coming up on March 15th, it was my choice to either allow absentee ballots with the reason of COVID or not allow it, but you can't mix it. I elected to allow it because there are folks that won't want to come out here that day because of COVID. So the absentee ballot, I have samples for everyone, but I know it's mostly those of you that are up for election, on how to properly fill out that form. If you have constituents that want to do an absentee ballot, or relatives or friends or somebody. So I'm allowing them to just check off temporary illness, COVID. And it'll only be for the period of that day, 3/15/22 to 3/16/22. And that will make sure that everyone has an opportunity to vote.
Mike is on his way, he just called me.
Oh, yes? Okay. Are there any questions on that part of it?
Well, by your own word. So this is a one-day waiver,
For this year's election, yeah?
so you're telling me if someone wants to vote by absentee because of COVID, they have to do it on that day, the ballot?
No. They can fill out that absentee ballot request at any point,
Okay, that was my.
just like we do usually, like we would do for vacation, or hospitals,
Okay,
or incarcerated, whatever. They fill out that form and get it to me.
okay,
Or they get it to the candidate, or the candidate will take it from them, give it to me, I give them a ballot, and they go back to that person, and they vote, and then the ballot comes back to me. Then on election night, I bring all the ballots down and, they go through it. Okay, so, after last night's caucus, we have, at the moment, 3 uncontested going into the March 15th election, a sitting trustee actually from each of the 3 wards. Now, I say at the moment because somebody could come in and run independent. And that window for the independent,
February 9th.
February 11th.
You have successfully joined the
For an independent nominating petition.
May I ask what happened with the candidate that was nominated last night?
The candidate that was nominated by the Democratic Committee Party at last night's caucus declined today.
Did they give a reason?
No.
Thank you.
So, any questions about the upcoming election? It'll be held in this room like we have the last few years. Okay, thank you. We ready for roll call, Mayor?
Yes, roll call, please.
Mayor Sereno,
Present.
Trustee Sidoti,
Here.
Trustee Ponte, Trustee Nesnick,
Here,
Trustee Huber,
Present.
Trustee Ruffin,
he's on his way, he just texted me.
Trustee Larissella,
Here.
Village Attorney Wallace. Here. Approval to pay bills as per warrant.
I'll make that motion.
I signed them, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. I am in receipt of KC Engineering's report that they have been doing right along at the second meeting, also known as the workshop. There's only a few bullets on here, but there is some action that will need to be taken afterwards. Podgy Terrace, it's all on your agenda, everything that she sent to me. Actually, she's saying Casey's work for the project is complete pending no further questions from the village. That's Podgy Terrace sewer main over there in the 3rd ward.
In the cul-de-sac.
Yep. The village boathouse exterior improvements. What we have going on there remaining is the contractor put 4 parking lights, poles in the parking lot, and 2 of the 4 didn't have banner hangers. The new replacements have arrived and they're over there in the parking lot waiting for the contractors for Woodland Manor to put them up, take the existing ones down and put the new ones up. KC efforts are nearly complete pending project closeout for that project, and those are the lights. Bain Park Survey and Master Plan. Work remains underway in preparation for 2022 construction.
Can I ask something about that? Do we have, if we're, you know, I was thinking to myself, we have so many problems with the parks and the issue with them not being cleaned and things. In constructing a new park, are we planning to have are we planning to integrate like a parks commission or someone, a group of people that will keep the parks free of
May I comment on that? What I was looking to do, when I get reelected, and hopefully I get reelected,
Well, you better, there's nobody.
yeah, I'm just saying, but was to rehire Timmy Berry for seasonal, because once we got him going, and our parks, we're cleaning them up, taking the garbage out, so this way our parks can still be, he can maintain all our parks.
Okay,
So I would like to do that, and,
Gotcha.
you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I mean, that's one part of your question, but,
yeah, I mean, that's the biggest part. I
Yeah.
know that, you know, I actually kind of, it escaped me about.
Yeah,
the
that's-
truth, because prior to it, it was.
so what I would like to do is, maybe sit down, I don't know, with who, the unions or whatever, and just see if we can use him for seasonal for, you know, from, I'll say, May until September or whatever, you know?
Well, what happens in the winter time when these put with the garbage on these things?
Most of the time, there's not much garbage down there. I
Okay.
mean, I've been.
Well, I'm
I've
talking
been
more
checking.
about like, you know, paraphernalia, things that, you know, aren't
Yeah.
like bags of chips. I'm talking about things that people toss out of their cars, drug paraphernalia, things like that.
Yeah, I
That we've had problems with.
Yeah,
So, because if we're gonna construct another big, I would like to see something year-round, that someone's checking in to see if things that shouldn't be thrown on the ground that can harm people or considered a public health threat are being done.
maybe we could sit down and do that. Make it a part-time year-round.
Because garbage doesn't only come out on
No, it doesn't.
the nice weather.
No, it doesn't, but it does mean that our parks do get used mostly in
Right.
the 3 seasons. I shouldn't say that, they're used all 4 seasons, but mostly all.
Just something to consider as
Yeah.
we're about to
That's what
break
I'd like to
ground on
see
a big project.
Well,
Okay,
that could be a question for Cindy, because she will be handling the Bain Park. So,
Or will she be handling the operations of the park?
no, but in the construction phase, and that probably will run through the summer into the fall. So that one point that you're talking about might be a moot point for this year, but moving forward, it will be,
Gotcha.
It's a fairly quick construction. It'll be, once we make the move to go and we plan it, it'll be in within a week. That's
Okay.
it. It'll be ready to roll.
it looks like the LWRP is being wrapped up by Casey Engineering. They've got one more thing to do. Edit the report. They're gonna have one more public meeting, and that'll conclude their work. But the project still goes on with Passaro Engineering that the board approved a while back. The Route 9 sewer project, as you all know, Ben Saccone and Company has already worked with New York State DOT, and they know what they're gonna need to do. And they'll be doing that, and KC will have an inspector there throughout that process of repairing the manholes, but then the Route 9 sewer is theirs too. Now, having said that, if you look just below that now, they're asking for approval to do the engineering work, the bid process and all of that tonight.
well, because the sewer project is going out to bid.
That's the sewer line that's going through the parking lots, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
want to make sure.
that's the one by the glass.
Yep, okay, okay.
So what they're proposing is lump sum labor fee. Billing will be monthly. Construction documents and regulatory approvals of $10,000. Bidding phase through construction contract execution $7,400. Construction phase $45,300. Total for their work $62,700. So,
You say monthly, I can't assume this being more than 1 month worth of work.
no,
No, this is at best a 4 to 6 week project.
billing will be monthly. So they're asking for board approval to continue on with that project. So having said that, and they emailed you the 10-page
Yeah.
Right.
document today,
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion that we go along with this.
okay?
This is a very crucial and important
Yep.
piece of project that should have been done a few years back. But due to on that tank.
The tank. We have a motion on the floor to approve Casey Engineering for that work effort.
I'll second that motion.
Seconded by trustee Sadati. All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye.
Carried. Last meeting, the board approved a resolution appointing election inspectors at a rate of $12 per hour. We would like to amend that resolution to $15 an hour, which would be an overall increase for the 7 inspectors of $252.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Seconded by trustee Huber.
I think trustee Pompey seconded that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye.
Carried. Accept the resignation of P.O. Kristen Bajana.
You know, can I make a motion, or not a motion, but a comment? Are we doing any exit meetings with our employees that are leaving? Because it seems like in the last month or so, there's been a few that have left. I mean, not only here, but other places too, the police department.
She never really got started, Kevin.
No?
She was the one that came to the lady that had come to the meeting about a month or so ago. She does have an injury issue that she's dealing with, which is preventing her from moving forward.
Okay. Yeah,
But are we doing that either way? It's a good,
No, I haven't done an exit interview.
I'm just saying, like, a lot of people have been leaving.
Yeah, no.
Let's find out what the problem is, you know what I'm saying?
a lot of police officers.
Not, I mean, there's been, I think, 2 police officers, but, other people also.
Yeah, I mean, if that's something that you want to start, but that's, if we're going to start doing exit interviews, we need to do that across the board.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I'm not just pointing out one department, I'm just,
I would agree with you. I think they're important.
they might say, no, I don't wanna go, man. I don't wanna say my problems, I don't know, but,
Does the board agree with that position that we should try to be doing exit interviews for people who leave the employ of the village?
I think it depends on the circumstance. I mean, some of the people, it's clear, right? Some of the people are their exit is a welcome exit, and there's no mistaking why they're exiting. But other people, I would think maybe we should.
yeah.
So is it of the opinion that wherever possible, we should do an exit interview?
Yes, I would say yes.
Comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Good.
We can start.
I mean, find out what's going on.
Procedure.
I mean, it could be something in a department, you don't know.
Well,
You don't know.
in the meantime, can I have a motion to accept her resignation?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Mayor votes aye.
Carried. Oh,
For the record, clerk, trustee Ruffin is present.
I got it. Thanks, Mike. Good to see you.
Glad to be here. Sorry to be late.
Last month, this item got tabled Motion by trustee Huber to table this pending additional information. This is this is the 10 Market Street project, the building that burned down, Jeff Nice wants to rebuild. In the meantime, I have seen the print, the drawings, and it is clear on there where the, what do you call them, laterals will come out and get tied into the sewer. And it's clear on there where the stormwater runoff is, which is gonna be the same as they had before, through a pipe that's underground and goes tied into the tank, the storm drain on Market Street. So those two issues are clear. If you make your motion similar to the one that the water department made, it was conditioned on engineering review and planning board acceptance, if you want to do it that way.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it, but I think there's a law that we can't discharge our water into a public storm, or public sewer or roadway. Am I correct?
Right. No, it's gotta go in, it's tied into the storm drain system. They have a stub. For the water runoff?
Right,
Yep.
it's not into sewer.
Well, it's not in the sewer and it's not into the street either.
Yeah. Okay, yes.
Okay, and did you second that, Kevin?
Yes.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
We talked about the Route 9 manholes, Ben Saccone. This is just for your information. You had your meeting last week and everybody's in sync with that.
So let me just touch base on that for whoever wasn't involved in the meeting. So basically, KC Engineering got together with the state and Mr. Saccone and the highway super Pete, and they went over the whole scope of the work. The state seems to be happy with what they came up with. Ben Saccone, he's gonna put, Saccone's gonna put together the plan of what is gonna be done that we discussed. KC Engineering is gonna look at it, make sure that's what we spoke about, and we're gonna move forward with that project, and there has to be an inspector at the time if KC's still,
KC will do the inspection.
we'll do the inspections, and the state will be there also to pop in, and they're confident that they can make the repairs properly, so.
Awesome.
And it was,
Just for the record, that meeting was attended by trustee Savati, myself, the highway superintendent, DOT, our engineer from KC, Nancy Clark, and Brandon.
Brandon,
And this is a continuation of the temporary repair now being done permanently.
Okay, I'll put that into the minutes.
Good job.
Now,
Thank you.
finally, right? Now, there's one thing. Mayor, when you had the reorganizational meeting, we put in there that the meeting times would be 7 p.m. the first Wednesday and 5 p.m. the last Wednesday. And I've had a couple calls. Are we,
Excuse me, are we, 7 PM on the first Wednesday? I thought, or.
Second Wednesday.
I think.
oh, the second Wednesday is 7, I'm corrected. The first meeting of the month is at 7 on the second Wednesday. And we put in the paper that the second meeting would be the last Wednesday, starting at 5. Now, we've been at 5 and we've been at 6. What are we?
I think we're flexible, trying to get all our board members there.
So
This will-
leave it at 5?
This is gonna tie into a point I'm gonna make in a few minutes, so if you want me to make my point, I'll make the point. Ever since we had an employee who then got dismissed, he wasn't brought back, we haven't had an active person operating and maintaining our village website and social media platforms. We really need to have somebody be doing this and doing 15 to 25 posts a month on this, because then people will know what the meeting times are what events are going on, what happenings are going on throughout the village, because as the clerk has said, he's getting calls. So, to resolve this issue, I mean, I know somebody who could do it for relatively cheap money. I already talked to trustee Loricella about it. In fact, when I did the sesquicentennial, the committee was working on, you saw the information put out on the platforms, on my Facebook page. So if the board desires, I can throw a name for this person to do this for around $400 a month. And you get at least 25 posts, and where need be graphics, and that would be Danielle Masterson. It's hard to ask her to do it all the time. She's done it occasionally in the last 4 or 5 months, but it's hard to ask her all the time to do this without a small level of compensation. But you would be guaranteed all the meeting notices, all the recreation items going on, all the other items of interest to the village and its residents, such as 911, the Memorial Day functions. So, just food for thought. At some point, we're going to need to hire somebody for this.
I think that'd be a job that we should post.
For $400 $100 a week?
Well, you gotta make it.
I think it's something,
We should discuss it.
we should definitely discuss it, figure out exactly what we're looking for, exactly what needs to be done, and
Put on the village webpage.
figure out how we're gonna proceed from there, but
There's already been requests to the employees, and they won't do it.
okay, well, then, I mean, we do need to have more conversation.
Okay, so I've raised the banner, so to speak.
Well, can we have the conversation? I mean, are we able to have this conversation right now?
Well, I would need to have more information about exactly what needs to be done every month, what's currently being done. We had somebody come down from the county or the state that came and trained people that were in the office. I know that there's been several transitions in and out of the office lately, so is that something we're going to abandon, or is that something that we still can do? So I just would like to get more information on it.
Okay?
No, I understand. I was just saying, like, is this information something that you can be provided right now? Are you prepared with that information?
No, because I think it involves talking to people that aren't in the room.
Okay.
Well, you gotta remember something here. If you're talking about civil service, I would have to create a position for somebody part-time to be able to do that. If you're talking 1099, like I think the mayor just mentioned, that's different. That's a subcontractor. So
Right.
you need to tell me what you want to do.
It's basically a stipend position,
Right,
$400 a month.
right.
Stipend position.
So it wouldn't be a civil service position, right?
No.
Okay.
No, but.
Well, maybe we should put it out, and we should maybe put it out for our village residents. Maybe there might be other people, other parties interested, or other people interested in this.
It's currently not a created position, correct?
Correct.
So,
But can't you put out a stipend, can't you offer out a stipend, well, not using the word position?
Joey wants to do it.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
He originally was supposed to do it.
says who?
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Just kidding. So do you have to have, I mean, if it's a 1099, we don't have to necessarily create a quote-unquote position, correct?
I did create a position before.
Right, but that was when it was a civil service, right?
That was a civil service job that had some very high level qualifications.
Qualifications, right?
That was for social media coordinator job?
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
And that required a bachelor's degree or better, and so on and so forth. So my only point is, Trustee Huber's position is that if we would like to put it out there, we should perhaps see who is interested. Do we need to create a position if it's a 1099? No, correct?
Oh, no.
But you can still put it out into the universe and say, hey, is anyone interested in this? Even though it's not a quote-unquote position. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Attorney Wallace?
You could put an ad in the Southern Dutchess News.
Yeah,
On the village website.
you can define, you guys can define what your needs are, and you can hire according to your needs. So if it does not fit one of your present positions, which it doesn't, you can seek, you can define it as a independent contractor
Gotcha.
and hire it.
Yeah, all right. Thanks for confirming what I was
Well, I told you what the position is. You got plenty, it can't be more open about it than what it is. Anything that's happening in the village, by and large.
Right.
Your meetings, your events, your, so you got planning board meetings, zoning board meetings, water board meetings, village board meetings and workshops. You have all of them, so there's at least 6 or 7.
And right now, none of those are posted on our website?
No.
No.
Well, they would be all in one post, no?
And any other
Not necessarily, they all get created as it comes.
any other item of interest. So when recreation picks up again, you'll always have a few scattering of events, the concerts in the park, whatever. Those items.
You
You'll
got
have-
Facebook, you got Twitter,
That's,
you got the website,
that's the social media platform.
Right.
I already spelled it out.
the whole thing.
Yeah, I think, to be just quite candid, the concern that probably the board is wondering is it okay to just say, hey, here, you do it? Or should we be offering it? I think that's what we're trying to decide.
Yeah.
We understand what it is that
That's
you're
fine.
trying to do. Right?
Run it out in the paper and see if you get any bites.
Well, yeah, we should discuss the
job
The
parameters.
job
as well.
parameters.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not even saying
Yeah,
that we
needs
have to
be
run an
more
ad in the
clearly
paper.
defined.
I'm just saying
What we're
that,
expecting.
let's just
You have a social
put together
media
exactly
policy
what we
that
want
has to be
before we assign
well.
it to anybody.
And training and stuff.
I'm
that
sure
needs
you're
to be-
right.
Yeah, we have to look into
Consider-
it before we make.
Well, it only has to be, I think, if it's a social media, if it falls under the umbrella of the social media what was the job that was created? Social media what?
Coordinator. Yeah. And a bachelor's of journalism was needed for that, I believe.
I don't have it with me.
It was something like that.
I think that's what it was.
Can I say something? You also have a couple of systems that you're not utilizing right now that we've had in place for a long time, which is we do have a government delivery system that, is through that county website that we were participating in it. We haven't because there is nobody to set that up and stuff. So I think, what you really need to do is sit down and really kind of look back at what your needs are and come up with some kind of a job description, just so that it's fair to whoever, I mean, whether, it is, Danielle or whatever, that the expectations of what you're looking for them to do actually fits, what the compensation is. Because sometimes, you think it's, a simple process and it's not as simple as you think it is.
The board, is the board, are we going to have a conversation about it, or for the purposes of perhaps hiring somebody, or not, or are we going to defer this to the budget process in April?
It sounds good. I would just like to see it put out there for other people to get a chance, because for a person that sat on the board and has done something similar to this, and residents come in and yell and scream, which I'm trying to prevent from doing, so we do it this way, the right way. I think
We should continue the discussion and just go over a couple things and see how we want to proceed, but I think it's a good idea.
It's a great idea.
We just have to, iron a couple things out.
Yeah, we need those parameters. We need to know what we're getting for the taxpayer money, exactly what to expect. I think that's all anybody in this room wants, yes?
Cool, yeah.
Fine. So, does this move the bar to February board meeting for a discussion, or does it warrant a meeting sometime for just one specific item?
What is
Because
personnel?
unless we meet in person or something, it's not going to be brought up. I mean, what do you want to direct the clerk to do, if anything?
I think the personnel committee should handle this and get this ready to present at the next meeting in February. How about that? Realistic?
Instead of putting it in the paper, we can put it on our website, right? I mean, people check the website all the time, right?
Well, we can't because we don't have anyone to put it on.
Well,
Nobody knows how to get on this thing?
no,
I'm just kidding.
yeah, we can still put stuff out there. It's just that we can't do it ourselves. We've had people train with the county and they come back more frustrated than they were when they went there for the training.
Wonderful.
And see,
I'm told it's like among the worst websites you could possibly have. That's what I'm told. I don't know.
See, and
I'm not a systems analyst.
me
Yeah.
not even knowing that, I thought everything was fine with, I wasn't even aware of it. So the fact that it's been brought up and going forward, I think we need to know exactly what it is that we're looking for to happen. And then once we know what we can happen, we'll get a better idea of how to put it out there and what we need to do, how many hours or. So I think it's a good idea too. We just need, if it's not gonna work with what we were currently doing with the county or whatever came down to help train us, then we have to take it further, but I think we should know exactly what we need.
I'm just curious really quick what the point of these meetings are if we can't flesh it out. Like, what do we meet for? If we can't sit here and flesh out what we need. I mean, this is not brain surgery. We're trying to communicate what, I don't understand why we're sitting here to constantly say, well, let's talk about it another time. It's really starting to freak me out.
Well, I had the idea, that's why I said, I think the personnel committee should get together, we discuss it, and then we present those parameters.
I also
to the
think
board
that
in February.
situations like this should be brought to our attention before I'm sitting here in the meeting, so I have a chance to maybe get some of my questions answered prior to sitting in here trying to hammer it out. We just brought this up and nobody knew that this was coming up to our attention tonight.
That's this meeting's for.
Right, so we're just talking about it.
But to hash it out, this is the workshop. That's what we're doing. We're here to
Are we
do it.
having what,
So, like, it might-
every answer is solved? And
Well, no, of course we won't get any answer solved, but we're not talking about anything. We're not gonna solve all the world's problems today, but that's the point of the workshop.
Right.
And so, like, yeah, we might be here a little longer, but it's like, there should be, am I wrong?
No, but
Because if all we do is say, like,
That's
let's,
exactly what we need to, we're looking for from this person that we wanna hire. Is there a list?
well, let's
But
start.
they're only gonna get $400 a month, so maybe
Let's start to put that together right now. That's the
Well,
point.
1 hour and get
That's what we
$400.
said we were gonna do with the personnel committee. We'll sit down, we'll go upstairs, we'll talk to John Carge, ask him exactly, I thought, to be honest with you, that our meetings were already posted on the website. We,
Right.
and
Having been
we
since
turned
let go of
around
Todd.
at reorg, we were on TV and we all put, this is when the meetings are gonna be, and so I was under the impression that information was once a year given out. If there's a change to that information, which I think is why the clerk brought up the fact that he got a phone call because we changed something, then we might have to go and alter something this week instead of it being at 6, it's gonna be at 5, or it's gonna be at 6. But on a regular basis, I thought that was already on there.
Right, but we were asked to separate from the person who was doing that, and so we did it, and we didn't replace it. So for all of these many months, all of the things that we're carrying on are no longer doing
So,
it.
and I understand that, and that was just brought to my attention 10 minutes ago,
Yeah.
that it was an issue.
Whatever you did at reorg is out there.
Yeah, yeah.
It's when you have a spontaneous meeting or an unplanned meeting or an event that you want out there is not going out there.
I think we've had some issues where we've made some decisions without complete thoughtfulness or went through and written down everything that we needed to happen. So I wouldn't feel comfortable hiring somebody tonight without not knowing, first of all, exactly what it is that she needs to do.
Just to be clear, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not asking anyone to make a decision or hire anybody. I was just saying, like, now is the time to talk about these things.
I agree.
Hey, what do you need? What exactly are you looking for? Well, this is what I think. Well, what do you think? I mean, you run a
Where do we
business.
come up with a number of
Where do I come up
$400?
with how many websites?
Well, yeah, so the point is, we might not have it all.
Right, yeah. So
But we have
we
a
need a
plan.
baseline to come
We
up.
we have a plan.
All we do is plan.
No,
We
this
just
is what we're gonna do,
all
and then
the
we're
time.
gonna throw it out on the next meeting.
It's gonna be a little embarrassing to ask the person that's doing it today to sit down and tell you all that she does, so we can go out and interview somebody with that information. You already have a person doing it. It's already in place.
And
All she wants to do is be compensated for it. That's all. You already have it.
what, I don't know, what do you mean?
Danielle is already doing all the social media
We
stuff.
don't have to get loud with each other, first of all. Everybody needs to
She's
calm
already
down,
doing it.
And we're
Already.
trying to work through this here.
Okay, so, again, lack of information that I don't even know that she's doing this.
Yeah.
I don't know, did you know that Danielle was working our website?
Not at all.
Did you know that Danielle was
Yeah.
working our website?
No, she's, from what I understand, she's doing posts and like doing them like on Ricky's Facebook page or in ways that she can do it and get it out there. I wasn't under the influence that anybody was able to use the Facebook page.
If we are going to assign money to somebody to do a task, I would like to know exactly what that task is about. How many hours a week it takes, just some information, a baseline of information. We're talking about coming back in 2 weeks, not 2 months, not 2 years. We were gonna get something together in 2 weeks and do what we needed to do. I don't think asking for 2 weeks to bring somebody on board and pay them a salary is a lot to ask, to look into some information so for our own, that we know what's going on. Because I don't know that Danielle's doing the website. I had no idea Danielle was doing a website.
Right, so my point right now is like, we're now gathering information that when we leave here, you can go find things out about. Like, you didn't even know that. I didn't know it either. And so like, I wouldn't even have an ability to ask that. I do know what commonly you would expect to see on a website and how much time it might take to put on a Facebook. We all use Facebook. So like, we could kind of be spitballing that stuff now is what all I thought. And I'm sorry for thinking that that's what we would do here.
My only point is, how are you gonna gather that information? How are you gonna get it?
Well, probably which information?
Well, if you're gonna sit down and interview somebody to do your social media work, you should be able to sit down with the person and say, we want you to do this with Facebook, we want you to do this
Which is what I was thinking.
with Twitter, we want you to do this with the website. But who's
So,
gonna be that? Who's
part of
gonna do
that,
that?
part of that would be us talking to yourself and sort of us
I
talking
don't know.
to
I'll
the
be right
mayor.
up front. I
What
don't
do
know
you-
anything about
How
it.
often do we even have to post meetings? Sounds to me like once a year.
Well, that's true. That's what we do.
Once a year.
That's what we do. We're talking about meetings that are
So I ju-
We have
unscheduled.
to
It's
post
just-
all our minutes of our meetings.
Everything.
I know, but that's another thing. Is that something,
Agendas.
is that something that we're gonna be asking
No.
this person to do?
Absolutely, it should
Okay.
be done.
Right, so it's more
So
than
that
just-
wasn't even
that's
brought
another
up
thing we're
earlier.
coming up, you know?
It sounds like what you want to
I just
do
wanna
is
make it
have
fair for other
somebody
people to
to
apply. That's all.
update your
I had one conversation.
Care about the job.
Facebook,
Yeah, I care about the job, but.
right?
Well,
You want somebody to update Facebook? Is that what you're talking about?
Twitter.
No.
If I, may I be heard there? There are so many changes right now with the public officers law where, that were just signed by the governor. We talked about it ad nauseum about how transparent, this new administration is, and we are missing a lot of requirements right now, and we do need personnel to post our agendas on a timely manner, all of our minutes, and all our resolutions, everything has
So,
to be posted from all our boards.
so is this something that would be taken on by the person that's assigned to do this?
Whatever you guys,
I'm asking, is
This
this
is
something, because
more-
that's not what was said earlier.
I do my minutes, I post them every meeting.
So if we have.
Mercedes does hers every meeting.
You don't
That's
put it
not
on the
what,
website.
that's not what we're talking about here.
well, I haven't seen, Here, I'll go on it right now. I mean, we're having some problems. We have some deficiencies that have to be.
You can go right on our village
So I
website,
guess
click
the-
on village board meeting minutes, and you'll find them all perfectly
Mayor, when
aligned.
you mentioned this earlier tonight, is this something that you intended this person to do as well?
What I was hoping was that said individual would get us more compliant than we've been previously.
I know, but compliant with these minutes, are we talking about that as well, or are we just compliant?
Also.
Okay, so that's a portion that wasn't mentioned earlier.
Right, more information we're
Well,
gathering.
that's what I'm saying, I think
See what I'm saying? More information we're gathering by talking about it.
we need to know exactly what it is we want this person to do. Is it a bigger job than we think it is? So let's just get all the information together and make a decision by next week.
For 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Danielle doesn't have access to our actual website. She just posts things on Facebook. So
According to this, our last board meeting, 11/29. Am I on the right website? I have no idea.
What is it? What's your last one?
11/29/2021 is our next board meeting. That's what our website says.
That's right, that's the last one.
Planning board. So,
So let's gather some more information and see what we can
the
come
planning
up
board does have their agenda submissions from January 6th, but I don't see anything about the meeting minutes or a link for their meeting. So that really should be on here.
A link for the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. So the televised link for the meeting? Every meeting?
Every meeting that we have.
All right, so we'll need that.
So this sounds like it's a job that is a little bit more entailed and it
Yeah,
needs
this is a
to,
bigger scope than what
it's
we
a much
originally
bigger
talked
scope
about.
than we're
I mean,
discussing, so.
If you're going to entrust this task to this job that you're seeking, I mean, it is. It's going to be a bigger scope job. It's not 4 hours a week, that's for sure.
I post the minutes to the website in a matter of seconds. Right there, I just drag over to it, push a button, print, goes right out there to general code. You're looking at it. The last meetings that I put out there were approved, were December. You do not post meeting minutes out there for everyone to look at that are not approved. Which means the January ones will go out there in 2 weeks after you have your next meeting and you approve the January minutes. The next day I go upstairs, boop, 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 they're out there. Been doing it for 20 years.
So that would be a job you would continually do, John?
Huh?
That would be the job you would continually do?
Absolutely.
Okay, so there's one job that person doesn't.
I do the minutes. Mercedes does hers. I don't understand what we're doing here tonight.
There's two jobs that person doesn't.
I really don't understand
I just want to make it fair for more than just one person. I mean, it could be the only person that applies for the job. I just want to see if there's anybody else interested.
Danielle is
Somebody might know
doing
somebody.
Facebook, right? That's all we're talking about.
Facebook, Instagram, website.
Well,
If I could just say something, I think what Craig's making the point of is very important. There are things that you should have on your website, especially like if we're having public hearings, information that people can access. So for example, I need to have a public hearing sometime probably the end of February, maybe the beginning of March, for the LWRP, for the next project of it. We should be able to have information out on that website for people to look at and, review and stuff, so that they can come to a public hearing and they can ask questions about it. That's a big gap of services that you don't have right now. And there's no coordination of it either.
That's an additional work
Right.
effort.
So,
That's not required. I publish public hearings in the newspaper
Right.
by law.
right.
That's what I do.
'Cause I'm
That's
just
what I've
saying in
always
terms
done.
of, you know,
But
of
it's- I
fulfilling
guess
what
it's
we
a
need
nice
to do in a
thing.
grant,
If you have,
that's what we need to do.
it's a nice
different.
thing to have if you have the ability or the resources to do it.
Right.
We've been going now like this for what, 8 months?
Mhm.
My phone's not ringing off the hook. I don't know.
Well, I've got 4 complaints from Carmine Drive, but I think 1 or 2 of them are traditional complainers.
The other thing that I would raise your awareness to is, as I'm trying to do these grants, is this is the feedback that I'm getting from the people that have awarded grants to us. Where are we posting it? Where can people go and get information about it and stuff? And, you know, I have to explain to them where they can find it. If we don't have it, why don't we have it? And do we have a plan to get it on there? So I'm putting it out there that I think it's, you know, maybe you want to look at it as maybe 2 separate jobs, and maybe you want to look to, if what you're looking to do is really just to have a social media presence, and that's what you're asking for Danielle to do, that's fine. But you really do have to have somebody in-house that has the ability to keep that website of ours updated. And whether it becomes a task that's assigned to one of the jobs in the village, that is what it is. I mean, you can't have people come back and say to you, you know, that's not in my job description. You need to make it somebody's job description, because it is an important element to have. I mean, especially like, you know, that I don't think you can really appreciate the fact of that government delivery system that they have built into our website, that is an immediate information to get. If we had a water break, if we had, you know, some kind of another natural disaster that you had to declare something or whatever, that's an immediate way of getting that information out to the public and giving them important, you know, information that they would have to follow.
Absolutely.
So we had the water break, and you needed to tell people that they needed to boil their water. This was a way to get it out there quickly and efficiently,
Or
that
when we
people
had
were
the June
notified.
30th tornado.
Yeah. So these are the kind of things that you need to have. You do need to have somebody, and I think that's probably falls under your public information. Don't you have to have an identifiable public information person? I think that's, you know, one of those things that would fall under that title. But, you know, it's just, you know, kind of raising your awareness of it. I think, you know, I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole Todd situation, but he was somebody that was very adept at doing that. So that's kind of what I think you need to backtrack and look at and say, you know, what were we doing then that we aren't doing now? And that's what you build your job description off of, and make a determination as to how many hours does it really take a week to do that. It might not take many hours, and it might be something that, you know, you could do in-house, because maybe there is somebody already on staff that could take on that added responsibility, or it's something you want to add into a position that you haven't filled yet.
But by the clerk's own words, on all the times that he's asked someone in-house to do something, for one reason or the other, they can't do it. And then he's asked the said person, the person in question to do it, and she's done it, okay? So what is the problem with the in-house for the people doing it in-house?
Just think there's a lot of different elements. People are talking about a lot of different services that it sounds like we need. That's why I think it's important to figure out what the different services are. You just mentioned 2 or 3 things that were mentioned earlier. Somebody else, I think that it needs a little bit of investigating to sit down, figure out exactly how we can set this system up to best work for the village, and then figure out who's going to do it. I'm not against anybody doing it. I'm not against Danielle doing it. I'm just saying, well, let's just wrap it up
What
into
your
some...
expectations are.
We need to be clear exactly what our expectations are, and the more we sit and talk about it, the more we're finding out we need a little bit of this, we need a little bit of that, we need a little bit of that.
Exactly.
So we really have to put pen to paper and find out exactly everything we need, and then put the job description to it, and then assign it to somebody, and then figure out how much it's gonna need to be paid. Because right now, just throwing out those figures, it sounds to me like we need more than that. If we're going to make this step and we're going to do it, let's just do it the right way and make sure that we get every service that we need in there. And that's all I have to say about that.
Well, all I can tell you is that on the times that the clerk has asked people upstairs to do something for the website and whatever, they were not complicated things to post. on the site.
Yeah, but it's not their job title. It's not their job
Right.
description.
Prior to should be getting us into compliance, but we
On a
should be putting
10-minute
out to the
item,
general public.
Kevin, excuse me,
So,
on a 10-minute
Oh,
item,
on the
I
same
think they
thing
could
for Facebook.
squeeze that item in. Or a 5-minute item for the benefit of the village. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, so my concern is getting us into compliance with what we should be posting, what the state is put out there for guidelines for us to follow. If we're not doing that, should be our primary focus, and then we'll get into the Facebook aspect of things.
Yeah, I agree. I did go on the website. It's definitely a clunky website. I mean, it's very hard to navigate. I did find our minutes. Okay, there is a spot for our minutes.
Okay.
They're not up to date, of course, but you know they're a little bit better than I initially thought. The critical thing though is getting the YouTube website telecasts onto the website, and we are also supposed to have a transcript of that meeting within 2 weeks of the meeting itself posted with it. So that's something that, you know, the board can consider. We're gonna have to get somebody to do that.
Okay.
Also, Craig, just point of information, that clunky, slow, non-responsive website or whatever is actually only a couple of years old. That's our new sparkling, shiny new website that the county created.
It's the county, yeah.
But I'm just saying, you know, it was a big project that is new. I mean, it's not new, I guess, because it's 2 years old, but that's an all updated, you know, thing, just for a point of information.
Okay, I think we've talked about this enough. I have one item here. Cindy, you're gonna give a little something? I'll let Cindy wrap this meeting up, but just another announcement. As many of you know, or may not know, our assistant building inspector has moved on to another job. I think it's either a state or a federal job.
Yeah, that's what I'm told, federal.
So
Is there a letter of resignation?
we didn't receive one from the building inspector.
You want to do an exit interview?
We're gonna need a,
Yeah,
we're gonna need a letter of resignation.
put it on the website.
Okay, so we need to get a letter of resignation from the building inspector. And while we're on that point, we have all the inspections done at the boathouse. So the building inspector should be issuing the 3-season CO in short order. All the inspections are now in-house.
Good, good. Now we can work on the other project
Yeah.
of taking care of the rest of that.
What's that?
Now we can take care of the other project, and you didn't have to waste the money on the floor. Take care of the ceiling,
Yeah.
the roof.
I can bring you up to speed on
Okay, so-
what I've done with that.
Cindy? Got it.
Okay, so I'm, as you all are, I think, pretty well aware that I'm in charge of trying to close out our open grants and recoup funding that we haven't received yet. So I'm going to take you through some of the projects that I've been working on to close out. So I'll talk about the boathouse first because the mayor brought it up. So the problem with the boathouse was that we were missing some documentation of electrical inspections and alarm inspections. And so I had a punch list from Brian Murphy as to what we need to get. We had some difficulty getting the information from the Swartz architectural firm. I was able to finally make contact with him, tell him exactly what we needed. I think it was just a little miscommunication that he thought that they had already been sent to us. I think they might, I don't know where they went to, but in any event, I got them. Brian has them. He will move forward with giving a temporary CO. Where there is one last inspection I have to do, the alarm company has to certify that that alarm system is working. Otherwise, the temporary CO that Brian will issue will be that we will have to notify whoever is using the building or we're leasing it to or whatever, that they would have to make a 911 call if there was a fire in the building or whatever, because we don't have some certificate that says the alarm system was certified. I think it is done, but it's not something that I requested from Sports, so I do have I have a call into them to say, if we haven't had it done, then we need to get it done. And it should be a yearly inspection on the alarm system anyway. I think that's part of when you have a contract with an alarm system, that they come out and do a yearly inspection anyway on it to make sure that it's functioning and working and everything. So that being said, so now we're ready to move forward. There was 2 grants that were still open that we have funding to be able to come in on. One is from the county. So now we will be able to submit to the county because we will have a CO that we can show them that the project has been completed. Not quite completed, but it's enough for us to get funding from them. The other is a grant that we had from the Hudson River Estuary, which is a DEC grant. It's a fairly small amount of money, but that's being closed out right now. What I ended up having to do was to get a grant extension on it because the grant expired back in June of last year. So I have given them wrote to them an excuse for why we needed the extension. COVID's become my primary reason for everything of late. That COVID has delayed us on many things of getting closed out and finished and stuff. So that's been approved by them. John got me updated insurance for them. So now I will be able to take and just submit to them all of the bills that we've already committed. That estuary grant covered the paving that was done in the parking lot. It covered, we have to get some signage that we haven't gotten yet, which identifies who we got funding from for the boathouse. So that still has to be done. And then there were some picnic tables that were supposed to be ordered to go into the Garrigan Park in the area down there. So that kind of takes care of where the boathouse is. I think at this point in time, the village needs to move forward on coming up with some kind of fee schedule as to what you want to charge to utilize the space. How much, if somebody wants to come in and rent the space out. Last year, prior to, when we thought the boathouse would be open a lot sooner, I had quite a number of phone calls into recreation at the time of people looking to rent that space out. So I think we need to kind of get the last minute things that still need to be done in that boathouse kind of ready. I think I'm not sure that the kitchenette area has been fully, all the stuff that has to go in there yet. I think the refrigerator still has to be ordered in the microwave. And I mean, then there's just some little touches that you really want to make it look a little bit nicer. The bathroom should be decorated a little bit. It should just have, be a little bit more appealing so that you do have it as, a facility that people want to rent and use. So you need to come up with a fee schedule. And I think at one time, Craig, were you looking into that of establishing a fee schedule for utilizing the building and stuff?
Yes,
Okay.
but that's going to have to come down to a board review and determination.
Okay. So that's where we're at with that. So then the next one that I'll talk about is funding that we were still owed for Annie Reese Park. We had $375,000 from that were through 2 member items that were awarded to us. One from Dee Dee Barrett, which was for $125,000. And then the second one was from Sue Serino, which initially was $125,000 to go to the boathouse and $125,000 to go to Franny Reese Park. Sue, prior to it being, put before the legislature, it was requested that she switch that funding over to be completely for Franny Reese Park, and it is. So at this point in time, we've finally been contacted by DASNY. The mayor has a DocuSign to put in. We are going to be able to have that first $125,000 that was from Dee Dee Barrett has been approved by the legislature. So now it's a matter of us submitting the paperwork to get reimbursement for those funds. And they are still developing a contract for the one from Sue Serino because somewhere along the line, in the last couple of months, or I should say the last couple of years, the paper trail of her agreeing to turn all of that funding over to Franny Reese. It's still showing up on the books as being the Boathouse and Franny Reese. So that has to be worked out, and they are, my contact person at DASNY is working on that right now, so we should have those funds start to be available to us probably within the next 2 months that we'll be able to get those in. So that money will be coming into the village as well. The third one that I've been working on lately too is the LWRP, which is that waterfront revitalization program. So the report that Casey Engineering referenced in their report, that is the last part of a large scope of the project where they developed, they analyzed what the lake was in the lake, they analyzed what was coming down, and then there was a plan developed as to what types of areas needed to be addressed, how would we address them. So they submitted the plan initially probably over a year ago. There were comments that came back, and somewhere along the lines of those comments coming in, John Saworski, who was formerly in charge of that particular project, left Casey Engineering. So kind of went into a state of limbo that there was no response back to the state over their comments made to it. We were able to resolve, Corey was able to resolve that back in the fall before he left. And we were able to initially apply to the state for an extension of the grant because it was due to expire last September. They didn't approve the initial extension that they were asking for because they wanted some clarification on were we going to be able to complete the tasks and what we had put into what the grant was focused on. So I was able to get Casey to pick up, and they are working right now on finalizing that plan, and it should be ready to submit to the state again in probably later this spring, maybe probably April is when we'll submit that finalized plan that they have. The other part of it was the biochar project, which you will hear more about at the first board meeting in February. Larry Sprague is coming to talk about that, so I've been coordinating to get that moving. We hired a new engineering firm, which I think you are aware of, Casero, who is out of Newburgh, and they have taken on, we've already had we went and visited 2 of the sites that will have the biochar project, one being in the lake, and one being up at Green Pond, which is what I think of as the old Jocosa camp up on St. Nicholas Road. The third site is up towards Pine Plains, it's Twin Lakes, and the arrangement that we have set up with them is they would like to expand their project, so it works better to kind of split them off from us. They will still have their funding flow through us for what they're trying to do, but it will be a separate one from what we are doing here in the 2 areas that are closest to us. So I've also submitted to the state I brought us up to date on all of our documentation to them as to what our project status is. I filed for a grant extension, which we have gotten. We've put in for reimbursement of funding. So I think that we are just about ready to get probably 160 or 180. I can't remember exactly what the ask was for them to reimburse us for that part of the grant, like the matches and stuff that we had. So, but it's moving ahead, and I think they're very pleased with the fact that we seem to be taking a very active role in terms of pushing this forward and stuff. And then Casey already talked about Bain Park. They are right now formulating a bid package that will go out for the installation of the playground equipment. It has been, you're well aware, I think, of that. It has the playground equipment that I formerly had stored down at Ad Space has been moved over into the boathouse. It is all into the the back side of the boathouse right now, and that will be ready to roll. Once we have a commitment and have chosen who the company will be to install that equipment and everything, we do have some additional materials that have been donated by local groups and stuff. We have Tilcon has been very generous in terms of what they are providing us for the base of the playground equipment stuff. That's all donated material, and we will just have to pick that up. So that's kind of saving us quite a bit of money on that project too. So I'm hoping that Casey will have that bid package probably, that we can put it out probably in March. And then we should have it, an idea by May when we're going to install, which at this point, I'm hoping will be either early July or early August, that we will have that playground in and up and ready to roll. And we have some peripheral grants around that too. We have some money left over for tree plantings that we haven't spent yet. We have about half of that. I think it's about $500 for, I mean, it's sapling trees, but it was, was what it is. And then we also have $200,000 of the Dutchess County grant that will become available to us for that construction and the amenities that we add to it and stuff. So I think that kind of brings you up to speed on, what I've been working on right now. We do have some other stuff that I'm still have just heard back from. We had submitted a grant back in the fall for an anchor project. We had talked about that back in the summertime. We had to write a resolution for it. We did not get funded for that. However, I did get contacted by the state to say that they would like to do a general meeting with us to talk about why the project was rejected. It's pretty much a procedural type of thing. The resolution that you initially passed back at the beginning of July was very broad because we were looking to apply for one particular grant and then got some feedback from the agency we were applying to that asked us to narrow down the scope and focus on one issue. And the anchor project was focusing on Patsy's purchasing the building next door that used to be the Rice and Bean, what was it, Rice and, whatever that was, and expanding Patsy's into the other side of it. Because we did not have that resolution that identified that we were going after the anchor project, it was rejected because when we had to amend that resolution that we were filing the application for the grant, it was done after the due date.
Can you just explain a little bit more what
Sure.
you're speaking about? Like this specific, can you just explain?
Sure, I'm sorry. I'm sure it's hard to hear me through this. So,
No, I mean, I've been catching everything, but
okay.
a grant you were working on for what?
Right, so it's a consolidated funding application that we put in last summer,
We being,
we being the Village of Wappingers, put in on behalf of a project that we identified as being an anchor project. So a project that would stimulate additional growth.
and when you say we identified this, who is we?
It's what we've done for a long time. It's
Yeah.
been studied for a long time. It's part of our
Yeah.
our
So who is the
comprehensive
we
plan
that
and stuff like
identified
that. It was, well, so this is what happened. So initially, we were looking to do the whole central business district
Yeah.
area. We did a radius around, so would have included some different businesses along
Yeah.
there. And so when we submitted that application when we were looking to submit the application, there were, we could go and get feedback prior to submitting the application to get a feel for, is it a fundable project or, and
And
so
when you're
that
saying,
was-
is it a fundable project, you're
Right.
saying finding funding for a private property owner and/or business
It's under
owner
economic development. It's one that's sponsored by the village,
by the village.
but it does go towards an individual.
So I just want to know really pointedly,
Yeah.
who identified Patsy's Pizza property as being worthy of receiving the grant? Who was it?
I based it on the criteria that they gave to me from the.
So you
ESDC.
were the only person that was.
No, I wasn't the only person. I mean, it was.
So who? I just want to know who.
Okay, so it
I
was,
wanna
I mean,
know.
Corey was too.
Corey.
Corey was, I was, I took, all of the information that we had from, different plans that we have. So Brownfield Opportunity, I took it from, previous ones that we had submitted.
Were board members?
It was a downtown revitalization plan, so that's what I pulled it from.
Yeah.
So we
So
were
were
looking
sitting board
for,
members involved in deciding if they were? This is just important to me. I hope everyone's following what we're talking
Okay.
about here.
I know, I can share with you that I came often to the board and gave
I'm not
lots
suggesting you
of, talks and stuff about what we were trying to do and what we were trying to accomplish, okay?
And what was the
So-
value of the grant? The expected grant that you
The
would get?
expected grant,
The goal was for how much money?
I think for over $500,000.
Over $500,000?
Right, that he
Okay.
would have to match,
Okay, that's fine.
okay?
But.
And
Hold on.
he met the criteria for what the project
Right.
needed to be.
I
There
get you.
was, in this kind of grant,
Yeah.
there were 4 or 5
Yeah.
projects that qualified for
Right.
this kind
Yeah,
of.
this grant, actually, this isn't the first time I've heard about it. This is just the first time I've been able to actually ask pointedly rather than just hearing about
Okay,
this.
so the building next door to Patsy's qualified, as did 10 Market Street, as did
Yeah.
Goring Hall, and a couple more along West Main Street qualified. On the original lumping up together of them, it wasn't going to be, that we got tipped off that it wasn't a good idea to do it that way.
It was too expansive, and they didn't think it was
Because would be
achievable.
turned down. So they got it narrowed down to 1 or 2 of these
One.
items.
One item. We gotta narrow it
It
down.
got narrowed down to that one because he could be shovel-ready, and that's the biggest thing that I needed to have. I
Well,
needed
that's
somebody that
important
could
to
say to
know all
me,
this.
you know what, when you get this grant, can you put shovel to ground within 6 months of being awarded that money? And he's the only one that could.
Okay, well, that's helpful
So
to know.
that's the bottom line of it,
All right.
yeah. So anyway, getting back to, so they have said that so what I was trying to explain to you is that the initial resolution that we had from you was for that broader project. When we narrowed it down, that smaller anchor project was underneath that general heading of those consolidated funding applications. But when we submitted it, they hit it back to us and said, this resolution isn't specific enough. And when I had you redo the resolution, because it wasn't that you modified the original resolution, you adopted another resolution. That adoption of that resolution was after the due date of the grant, and that's what kicked us out of the contention for the funding for it. So I anticipate what this meeting will be about, because of my preliminary conversations with the people at the state, is that they're going to suggest that we reapply for it. And what their intent was is that I needed to be able to say to the parties involved, and that I needed them to hold off, because whatever they did prior to being awarded a grant, they would not be able to submit as any kind of matching money to be used towards the grant. So, that was a conversation that I needed to have with Mr. Barisha and Elmi, to say to him, let me have this meeting with the state, and let's see how, how much they think that we might be able to still be able to capture in this, and would you be willing to hold off a couple of months until we put the application in, and we would hear probably in August if it was awarded again, because that's the cycle that's coming up on it. So that's just kind of bring you up on that. The other thing that we got back recently too was this is the plan from the EPA for the Superfund cleanup. This is their community involvement plan. So going back, let's see, about maybe almost 2 years ago, we had an outreach from the EPA telling us that they were looking, the outreach was to the Business Association, asking if we could identify people within the community who would be key figures as to who might have a vested interest in that Superfund cleanup, and some community residents that might be interested in giving some feedback to the EPA as to how best could the EPA get the community involved in the decisions that will be made in terms of how that remediation will be done with the Superfund money. So at that time, I reached out to the village, and we were able to identify a variety of different residents that spoke directly. The EPA called them and asked them questions and stuff. Kevin, were you one of those people that I had the EPA call?
No,
It was a girl that called, and she might have just wanted to talk to you for half an hour.
no,
No, you don't remember that?
I don't remember that. I
Okay.
didn't talk-
I know Harry Turbush was a person that they spoke to. I know that Jack Fettigan was a person they spoke to. There was a couple of residents down on Market Street that I identified and they spoke to. a bunch of different people that expressed an interest over time that they spoke to. But it actually was just trying to get their ideas so that they could start forming a proposal, because this cleanup will start to happen probably in 2023. So this is just what their plan is going forward as to how they will outreach to the community, to get feedback from the community in general as to what they would like to be seen done with this Superfund money to clean up the lake. Whether it will focus just on the lower creek, or are we going to try and tackle the lake itself. And depending on how this project we have going with the LWRP, the biochar project that is coming up, I think will be the determination as to how we kind of push the EPA as to what we would like to be seeing done. I mean, I think in general, we'd like to see that lake dredged and, you know, cleaned up. I mean, if the biochar project works as we think it will, which means that they will be able to clean out quite a bit of the contaminants that are in that sediment, that makes it much easier for us to be able to go after getting it dredged, because there won't be the complication of trying to get lots of permits as to where we can transport that, what we're pulling out to. We might be able to use it more locally and put it in as fill someplace. So that's where we're at with some of them. I mean, I still have other ones that I'm working on and closing out as well. Any ones that we had that were expiring, I have filed extensions on, and all of those extensions have been approved. So it kind of takes some of the pressure off of trying to close these out as quickly as possible. It gives us some time to to be mindful of how we're doing projects and getting them done, right, and making sure that we're getting what we want out of the funding that we've gotten. Anybody else have questions? I mean, Adam, do you have any more questions, or anybody? Ask me a question.
Probably will, but right now.
I know. I'm like,
in
so
the
I know it's a lot of
things you
information
should
I'm
say.
throwing at you, but
So going back to the top, you started off with the boathouse. Now, there was a provision in that grant when we applied for it that stated something like the village will charge, and I believe Matt used a little bit of a flowery language on purpose in that grant application to say something like a nominal charge to residents for that site usage. And can you elaborate on what a nominal charge would be? Something that would be standard and customary?
okay. So I think what it does is give us some discretion as to, so if there were groups that came in, for example, a nonprofit group wanted to come in that is a village group, and I'll use the Historical Society as an example. If they wanted to come in and rent the space from us, it would be at our discretion to say to them that we weren't going to charge them a fee. If a resident, we would have a set of fees that would be for residents, and then we would have outside user fees. Okay? We just have to be really careful because it is county money, and usually when you accept county money for anything, it has to be that it's available to all county residents.
I'm aware.
But we can have some discretion in terms of we can allow village residents, because taxpayer dollars were used, village taxpayer dollars were used towards that project, that we could say, this is our resident rate and this is our outside user rate.
Per hour usage rate or set rate?
It's whatever you want to set it up to be. I mean, the facility is probably going to be rentable for, single events. You might want to have somebody that's coming in there that, wants to use it 5 days a week or something, in terms of how the grant was written, I mean, when we went after the grant money, there was a heavy emphasis on it being utilized for recreational purposes that were water related, because that was the concept of the boathouse and stuff. We really kept that very vague, so it does allow you some flexibility in terms of, what we're using it for and stuff, and what we're renting it out for. There's all sorts of different components. So, I mean, if you look at it right now, the space is very conducive to people that would look as an art gallery. So that if we had local artists that wanted to do a showing down there, or rent the space to have a showing or something like that, that would be an acceptable use of it and stuff. We're storing stuff down there right now. I mean, that when we have, that is where the Christmas lights and everything, the banners and everything are going to be stored, is in that excess wing off the end there too. So I mean, that's
Garage,
yeah. So I mean, those are usages that we have and stuff like that. I'm hoping that moving forward, that we will, you know, getting it available for people to utilize and getting some rental money into it sets us up to start being able to address the whole issue of that roof needs to be replaced. And I have spoken with Mike Buffy, who's from Swartz, to talk to him about it when I was looking for the documentation to be able to get the CO. And I mean, they were well aware of the fact of why, you know, we were looking for just a 3-season one. And they have a plan that would be to, they would suggest that, number one, that we provide a layer of insulation between the existing roof and whatever new roof that we put onto it that would meet the energy requirements. But they're also going to suggest that we eliminate some of those skylights that are in there as well, which would probably in the long run be a better thing anyway because they're leaky. So, but it is something they're aware of. But the fact that, you know, we are able to get this up and operational or have some funding coming in, again, there are some grants that we might be able to go after to be able to get that funding. We're projecting probably about $300,000 to do that roof. Yeah.
Excuse me, Craig, just in an effort to try to get an answer about what nominal would be, is there some kind of legal, you know, because Mike's point is really well taken, and we've talked about it several times, like what is nominal when you say a nominal fee? And, you know, if you look up the definition of nominal, it's far below, you know, retail, or far, so is there some
Far
kind of...
below the going rate.
Or the going rate. So is there, like, for a lead, so in this regard, like, are we to know, okay, you know, it's $100, it's what is...
And what about a deposit for cleanup or something like that?
Right, well, all of those things, but like,
Right.
are we kidding ourselves about what kind of income it can generate at now once the roof's on, we're at like 1.1 million or something?
Probably so, yeah.
Or,
I mean, I can understand the question. I think before you can understand the question, you have to source the money. Like Mike said, and Cindy said, it was, if it's sourced with, you know, the county money, okay, there are parameters that go into that I have to research.
right, which says yeah, I guess what the thing is there's no question about it's county money, which requires a nominal fee.
A nominal fee to me would mean something along the lines of, and it can only be utilized by us to pay maintenance, you know, upkeep,
Yeah.
maintenance,
Right.
that type of thing. We're not here to make money. It's not a money maker for
Right.
us. That is.
So the idea, because there's been a lot of talk that was one of our exciting things.
Would a nominal fee possibly be what area places are getting to rent and going below that? Would
I
that
think
be
you
considered
probably want to take a look at
nominal fee?
what is the county charging to use their facilities. So for example, if you look at what do they charge at the stadium? If you want to go and use Dutchess Stadium for an event or whatever, what is the county charging for that? You know, and
So that's probably a lot.
That's a little different.
Yes.
But I see your point.
If we
Well,
can
like
go
the
nominal
Fishkill
to that,
Rec.
we're in
Yeah.
good shape.
So like the Fishkill Rec might charge you
right,
$120.
right.
So like we're talking about like, oh, you want to have a wedding here? Sure, have a wedding here. It's
Right.
$120.
Right.
Yeah,
So we have to do a lot of weddings.
You know,
This,
Bowden
this, and
Park,
this.
Yeah.
you can rent one of those pavilions there in an
Yeah.
area. I think that's the general.
Yeah, but to rent one of the outside pavilions that's not sheltered by, is over $200.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine. So it's
So that's, yeah.
But my point is,
But
we're
that is
talking
the- I mean, that is
peanuts.
the stuff that Craig will have to look into. Is, I mean, if it gets the
That
county
could be
rates
under
for
the
your
definition of nominal.
facility.
You might want to look into the rental agreement between the county and Kevin McCurdy on the other side of Chief Road for that whole thing for Kevin McCurdy's because he pays rent to the county.
But we're talking peanuts here.
Don't forget.
Yeah, we got electric heating and...
It's just important to point out.
Yeah.
It's nothing. We're not.
Yeah, but,
Is this
but,
We're not gonna break
but
it.
again, and I'm gonna explain, you know, say this to you as well too, but it shows a good faith effort of you that you have matching funds for potential grants. Okay, that you are doing your best ability to generate funding to be able to do the maintenance costs of a very big ticket item on top of that. And I think So, you know, when we talk about the DAS money that we had, those were member items. So Dee Dee Barrett was one person, Sue Sereno's one person. That's who I think we might look to go and get some of this funding for that movement. You know, those are things that are at their discretion as to what they want to fund and stuff. But we have to show some kind of a good faith effort in terms of we're trying to, you know, recoup some of this money ourselves and be able to sustain it ourselves. So I'm just, you know, saying that to you. I mean, that's just an ask. That's not even an application you really have to put it in.
So
That's just having a meeting with her.
My question to you is gonna be about Franny Reese. The 375, is that just money coming back?
Yeah.
That's just, no
The only
ties to
thing that we
that?
have left to do at Franny Reese is there is some signage that needs to go in up there. And one of the other items that you might have to really start thinking about is how do we give it handicapped accessibility up there? You know, how do we make it a venue for people that can't get access to it because there's no way we could have ever gotten a pitch to get a ramp down that way. So, I mean, that's, you know, there's creative ways to do it. I mean, you know, we looked at some creative ways to handle that as well.
Elevator.
Um,
I was just thinking the same thing.
What?
An elevator.
Well, I thought it was having a little ramp or cutout platform up top
Yeah.
for somebody
Slope.
to.
Yeah,
Pretty
well, we were looking at, so that there's that piece of parcel that Mike, Survey purchased up there. It's a tract of land. That would be potentially something if we were able to get him to either sell it to us or donate it to us, that you could put some handicap parking there. Wouldn't be a lot, it'd be like maybe 2, 3
You know, but I walked
things,
that.
and then have an overlook over to the venue to do it.
Well, it's right over top of this.
It's right over top of it, and that would you know, qualify it to meet the criteria of having it handicapped accessible. You could
That
use
is
the
pretty
back
high.
side of
It's pretty
the
high.
fire department as well, that firehouse.
God,
You
the
could.
outdoors with that.
You could, I mean, it would be difficult now, because I think there's tomato plants and stuff back there, and that obstructs the view, but, I mean, that is, you know, that is a location that makes it accessible to view any kind of, you know, performance that's going on down in the park. So, I mean, that's a potential site as well.
You might want to take a look at that wall in the back and have an engineer look at that wall in the back.
Of the firehouse, yeah, I think we did. take a
Well,
look
more than
at
a few
it.
years ago, Jay Podgy has looked at that wall, and there is
Yeah.
a report on that wall, so.
You want to fill us in, Kevin? What's going on with the wall?
I don't know what the report reads, but
Okay.
if you go down there and look at it, I mean, you can't go now because the gate's locked due to winter, so we don't have to maintain the stairs, and the stairs will last a lot longer without salt being on them. But it's just concrete, and it decays. I mean, it's, I don't know, 40 years old. when they
So I
put
just
that-
take it it's not in the greatest of shape?
Not in the greatest shape, but I mean,
Okay.
there's a report, so I don't know what it
You're talking about
says.
The wall on the back side of
Yeah.
where the patio comes
Yeah.
off of the
The
fire.
firehouse
Yeah.
took with their own money. Pat helped out a couple times, and they fixed the drainage problem that was there, and they put pavers in, but there might be an issue with that wall.
Is that something you can walk while you're meeting next week?
What's that? That wall?
Yeah.
I mean, I can ask. Doesn't hurt to ask, but I don't know, you got to get a hold of KC about the report. I'm sure they would have it. But there was a report done on that wall.
Okay, so.
And you can't, and then again, the firehouse will be locked for an event, so you won't have a facility, bathrooms or anything either for the handicap.
We don't have bathrooms available down in Granny Reese either.
So.
Yeah.
And you're taking away parking for the firemen if they park in front of the firehouse.
We have handicap parking in, you know, along the street there. I think it would just be a matter of identifying some handicap parking along the street there, that they could use it.
It would be in front of people's houses because you can't
No,
park.
isn't there on-street parking along there? No, there's not? I mean, we might be able to work out something with the you know, with the rest, with Cafe Con Leche or maybe with the VFW.
Was the handicap, accessibility and provisions budgeted into the project when the project was done?
I really can't address it.
I don't think so.
I'm really, I don't
I think
think, I'm
they
gonna
just-
say no.
They built that bump out there where the benches are
Yeah,
to be an overlook for the handicap because the handicap couldn't have a handicap accessible down, so they made a bump out for it so you can just look over. I mean, it is far away. I'm not saying it's the greatest
you
spot.
can't really see it, you could hear it.
You can hear it.
You
yeah.
can hear it. And the intent was, you know, we were looking at who was gonna occupy the cobbler shop there, that there would be a means for them to be able to hear it from up there. Because, I mean, at one time, if you think back, we were looking at a radio station going in there at one point.
Yeah, I just spoke to him and asked him if he was still interested, because I think we're trying to get there. He was concerned because years have passed, but Jason Gisser from Soul Mouth Radio did say he checked with his team and they are still interested, so. Anyway, all right, cool.
Which will lead into, we're still waiting for the door for that cobbler's building to install. And as everyone knows, the item in Village Hall, going up the stairs, has been complete. Have a nice cost savings. And I believe there's going to be a project by the same contractor at the police station in the basement. Is that correct, Clark?
That's absolutely correct, Mayor. We've done an awful lot. We're almost at the end of the list of making our corrections in the village that were pointed out during our past 2 years of inspections. The only thing left would be that door in the basement of the police station. And I had Pete Winheim look at that yesterday. He's going to get back with me. And yes, they did an excellent job over here. I don't know if you've noticed any of you going upstairs. That's all nice and neat and safe now. And the only other thing that we have beyond that are a few adjustments over at the homestead that have to take place. We did a recent inspection. Our last inspection was down at the highway garage, and they did a good job down there with things that were pointed out to them at the last inspection, so that's done. And yeah, we're moving along really well with that team. We're gonna miss you, Ann. Ann's part of the team.
So, anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Adam,
Yeah.
I need you to sign your acceptance.
Oh, yeah.
We have an executive?
Yeah, I was on that, little minutes and, backed out.
Who are we talking?
You really never wanted
Oh, you didn't hear it?
it. So,
Boy, we got a story for you.
this is your nomination from the Republican Party. Sign there.
Oh, we got
Did you just adjourn, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there was an executive session on the agenda. I expected to hear you say something. Yeah, on the phone.
I said, I phrased it in the motion.
And this is for
She have a mental problem.